So I have a confession to make. I haven't listened to Periphery nearly as much as I should have. But even so, I have an insane amount of respect for what they've accomplished. They're one of those bands that I think really cracked the code. They took immense talent and a forward-thinking approach to progressive metal and spun it into multiple successful companies, a globally loved band, and sustainable careers for everyone involved. They're the blueprint for what a modern band can be. So today, I'm going in more or less blind. I'm going to be reacting to their studio documentary, Remain Indoors, for the album Select Difficulty. I haven't seen it. I haven't really heard the album. My only point of reference is when Nolly came on Nail the Mix to break down his mix for the song Prayer Position way back in 2016. Periphery has been a mostly in-house operation from the jump. Writing, producing, mixing, almost everything. They're a perfect case study for smart decision-making and leveraging all the tools that are available to you. So, I'm expecting to learn a lot. Let's see what they got right. I think that's Baltimore.
We could add more kicks to match the vocals too, or like play with the groove to match the vocals.
So one thing I do know about Periphery is that what makes this band work is that they have great communication among band members, and they've actually made that a priority. They've come on the Riff Hard podcast several times and talked about it, and those are the types of conversations that you need to be having throughout the process. And I know that these guys just get into every little detail with each other. Let's keep going.
I really like the vibe of it. Like I feel like it sounds right for some reason.
It sounds right for some reason. Here's a thing that I've seen happen in studios a lot, or in arguments between band members, is the need to logically justify why you want to make a musical decision. But that's not good, because you can't really verbally, logically justify a musical decision unless you're saying something like the part's out of key, or you're playing out of time, or that was wrong. But when we're talking about feel, or we're talking about whether it's the right part, saying it feels like it's right should be enough, because really you have to trust each other's tastes. Like, what is a writer or what is a producer if they don't have good taste? That's ultimately why you're working with somebody else, why you're co-writing, is because you like their taste. So if they say, this sounds right to me, this feels like it's right, unless you really, really disagree for whatever reason, that should be enough. You shouldn't need to make them explain it or justify it like it's a court case or something. What a great player. I'm pretty sure that's Nolly playing bass. He's also a phenomenal guitar player, but really great players, when you hear them playing to a click, they are creating groove. Like, there's this misconception that playing to a click will make things stale. The right player knows how to groove against the click, and that's what you heard right there. When you have a player that's this good, tell me if you guys have ever experienced this, or if you can relate. There's some players where all you have to hear is one or two notes that they play, and you already know that they're great. So it could be like two opens or something, or one chord on guitar, and you already know this player is on the level.
Coming into this album, we knew we had less time, and we wanted to try kind of stripping back, almost back to where we were in Periphery 1, where we did things in an apartment, just be in like a real comfort zone where we could record and write simultaneously and just feel really creative the whole time.
This is something that's fairly new school, even though lots of old bands have written albums in the studio. It's still fairly new school to write and record all at the same time. But the advent of DAW technology has really allowed for it. Because people can record at home now, it's been now, like 15 years that people have been making their own really, really detailed demos, maybe almost 20 years. One thing that happens is when you're making really detailed demos at home, like basically recording the album before the album, and then going to the studio and trying to remake everything, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you'll come up to this problem where the demos felt better, maybe didn't sound better, but felt better than the actual album takes for whatever reason. Maybe it was because while writing it, there was that spark, you were really, really feeling it, and then 6 months later or 3 months later or whatever, you're not in the same headspace that you were in when you wrote it. Now, there's some parts that maybe you needed to practice for a few months, but there's definitely some parts where when you were writing them, you had the spark, and it's never going to be like that again. It's been such a, I guess, sad thing for me, and I know sad thing for lots of friends of mine who didn't take their pre-pro seriously enough to record it properly and still made the album before the album, but guitars were out of tune, strings strings were dead, like takes were sloppy. And then when they went to record the album, some of the parts, they just couldn't recreate them. So one thing that bands like Periphery have started doing is, and I know Shadow of Intent does this as well, like this is how a lot of people are doing it now, is when they do the writing, when they do the pre-pro, they actually record it like it's the real thing. So they don't have to redo it again later. Like it is what it is when you write it on the spot. And so they do have their guitars set up properly. They do have the strings changed. They have everything ready to go. And they take that extra little bit of time to play the parts right, because this is it. There's no need to redo it.
It's kind of hard to hear the character when it... Could you just mute the other side? I wasn't happy with that, I don't think. I guess that was fun, right?
Yeah. Like for me, I'm kind of listening to the symmetry of it, which is why it helps to have the other one back.
Be aware of what you're hearing back, not necessarily to be tied to one thing. So for instance, right here, Misha, I'm not sure exactly what it is that he needs muted. Maybe it's the other guitar, maybe it's some other element, but he's telling Nolly that he wants to hear less because whatever he's hearing back through the speakers is interfering with his ability to hear the part while he's playing it, and therefore he's not playing it as well. And Nolly is saying that for him, it's better to hear everything there because he can hear the symmetry of the part. As a guitar player, this is why I prefer to track in headphones, because this way the engineer or the producer and myself can hear what we need to hear. If the producer engineer needs to hear the overall picture to know if the part's right, that's great. But what if I need to hear mostly just click or something? And there's some riffs where you want to hear only click, or some riffs where you want to hear just drums and click, or some riffs where you don't want to hear any click and just drums, or some riffs where you want to hear the other guitar, some riffs where you just want to hear yourself. You shouldn't be tied to just one way of doing it. You should always be listening to the thing that helps you play the part the best.
Best part of working on the album at Misha's house is that it has the comfort of home. It's Misha's place. He lives here as well as works here, and we're all invited to stay with him, and we're already a pretty close band, so it's just kind of like hanging out with your friends, and there's no pressure.
I think it does allow for some kind of creativity to come out if you're doing it in a retreat style or in a retreat format, knowing that you have nowhere to go at the end of the day.
There's a lot to be said for that. And I realize that not all bands can afford to do that, or life doesn't allow it. But if at all possible, in my opinion, that is the best way to make an album, because you're all just there on the mission. And it's the only thing in your life, like Mark said. It's great for the creativity. It's great for morale most of the time. It's amazing how much work you can get done if you cut out the outside world. So a way to simulate that in real life, where you don't have a retreat style studio to go to, you can't take off work or whatever it might be, is to just turn off your phone, close social media, get off the internet, and just get to work. What a cool, clean part over that groove. That's really, really, really sick.
One thing I really like doing is the sub 37 just seems to double up on guitar lines really, really well, in a way where you don't necessarily even know that it's there, but when you take it out, it's like, oh, there's a lot of body missing from the guitar. So it's kind of a subtle way to reinforce stuff.
By the way, you don't need analog synths to do this. You can just write MIDI for your guitar parts or transcribe them to MIDI and use soft synths if you can't afford analog synths. But these analog synths sure do sound great. And that's a really, really nice home setup, but it's nothing crazy. And gear nowadays is even better than those interfaces. But just that right there is everything you need to hybrid record an album at home. You really don't need to go crazy.
Then we also have an extensive pedal collection. You'll see they're sort of littered everywhere because we're just kind of using them as we need them. There's a bunch there, a bunch on the ground, a bunch over there as well. And our general rule is anything that we put in front of the amp will just go in front of the Axe effects. It takes pedals very well. It gets kind of a unique sound to the effects that would be on the Axe effects already. If I have something in mind, I'll usually have a pedal in mind for that. And then the rest are just options, you know? We're still not done spice racking, as we call it. So as we write, as we get everything together, we start to look at what can we add to make these parts better.
Even though they're using an Axe effects, which is It's a great unit. They're not just settling for what they can do with the axe effects. As you see, they have a whole arsenal of pedals, and they're using them, I don't know if on every part, but on lots of different parts. Basically, they're using them based on what parts need. And of course, they're capturing DIs for just in case they want to redo the part later or reamp it. They're then using the pedals as a way to, like he said, spice the tone, change the tone, mold the tone into what they need for each particular song. That's a really good hybrid approach. There should be at least one member of each band who is good with the guitar setup stuff. I mean, ideally, every guitar player should be good at it and every producer should be good at it, but I feel like in every band there should be at least one person who is basically the guitar tech of that band. I can't tell if that's Jake or not, but it seems like it from this clip.
So in Periphery 3, we have pretty much any choice in guitar you could think of. It's pretty overwhelming sometimes, and figuring out what the best instrument is for each individual part is kind of part of the writing process and the recording process.
Picking the right guitar for the part. I mean, you can go down endless rabbit holes with this. I have noticed that a lot of people tend to try to use like one guitar for everything. And I feel like that's something that you can get away with. But by using different guitars, first of all, you're going to get different tones. Second of all, you're going to make it easier to mix because there's already going to be a natural separation between the timbres of the different guitars. Plus, number 3, you're going to get more unique blends of tones that you can't get any other way. And number 4, you can really get something that's really, really specific for the part you're trying to come up with. Now, you don't need 20 guitars or 30 guitars. A good amount for a metal album is to have 3 or 4. Say you have a part that has like 4 different things going on, like 2 rhythms, a clean part, and a harmonized lead. You can use different guitars for each type of part. It really will help in the mix. Again, you can get away with using one guitar for everything, but at your own detriment.
We're always trying to find that fine balance of being able to have clarity and have the riffs be completely audible and sound perfect, but never for it to sound like a computer was doing the playing.
That's the challenge of modern recording, because you really can make stuff sound computerized if you want to, or if you're not careful, if you over edit things, over punch. Like, there's so many ways where you can end up with a completely sterile recording. The way that they're doing it is, as you can see, they're utilizing the tools. They're definitely doing punches, they're editing where needed, but they're actually getting takes. They're actually playing this stuff. They're making sure it feels good. When I say that the best player for the part should play a part when you're tracking, this is kind of what I mean. There's already 3 other guitar players in the band. Nolly was the bass player at this point in time, but there he is tracking a riff. And as you can hear, it sounds super sick when he plays it. Is it that the other guys can't play it? Nope. I'm sure the other guys can play it just fine, and they've had to because they play it live. Nolly just sounds great playing it, so why not have him actually track it? Makes perfect sense. It's logical. Mark's a great lead guitar player. God, his phrasing and his tone, his vibrato, so good. Find it funny that Misha says he's not a good guitar player. I don't know if he's being humble or not. Lots of great guitar players don't think that they're good, and that's probably why they're good, is because they keep on trying to get better. If you think you're really good, you're going to probably stop trying and then not get better. But Misha is obviously a really good guitar player, but he will never admit it.
P1 was really technical. We kind of didn't know what to do with the vocals.
Puppy. Wow, like a real band actually playing through the parts. Now, I think this is really, really wise. Even though they all wrote the parts together on Superior Drummer because they were at Misha's apartment, and obviously you're not going to have a drum set in the apartment, before they go and record these drums, I know that Nolly and Matt are going to England to record them. They're actually playing through everything to make sure that it actually feels right, because real drums are not going to feel the same way that programmed drums are. It's two completely different beasts. You can get great results with programmed drums, and there's some bands who put out records with programmed drums and they're great, but they still feel different than real drums. So if you're going to have real drums, it really behooves you to actually take the time to play the parts. And the same actually goes for if you use Guitar Pro to write. I know a lot of people do. You really should see how it feels to play it on the guitar before you go to record it, because sometimes it's not one-to-one. It might seem like it's cool, or it might sound cool, sounds like it would be cool, or look like it's easy and playable, and then you go to play it and it just doesn't make any musical sense. Is that his in-ear monitor on the floor, Tom? Ooh, that's frightening. Ooh, God, that would scare the shit out of me. Those things are expensive. That's really cool. Matt's awesome.
Gotta get it way cleaner.
I mean, you're not a blaster, you know?
No.
But I'm
Fart
impressed.
blaster.
I'm actually really impressed.
No, it sounds good. I mean,
That felt like it was very easy for you at that
that
point.
was.
That's
Yeah.
not
205.
It doesn't sound like you're struggling. It sounds even. Because I feel like when you used to blast, you wouldn't get a lot of air.
Musicians who are really good don't think that they're really good, and therefore they're always trying to get better. So right now you're seeing the band talk about a technique that Matt is not super comfortable with. He doesn't consider himself a blast beat drummer, but they want to have blast beats in the music, and so he's stepping up to the challenge, even though he's clearly not super comfortable with it. And they, the rest of the dudes, being a really good team, being good teammates, are encouraging him and giving him actual honest feedback. So I think Misha said he didn't know how it was going to sound, so he was not sugarcoating it. He's agreeing, yeah, you're not the strongest blaster. He even said, you're not a blast guy. He's not like saying, no, you're great at blasts, and just like blowing smoke up his ass. He's being honest. He's then praising how good he sounds and how even he sounds on this blast, which is a big deal. Not trying to sound cheesy or anything, but this is really, really important stuff. And when you see bands that have stuck together for a long time, you know, well over a decade, it's because they've figured out how to work together and talk to each other and overcome challenges.
Chocolate Flobs is an old demo that Misha uploaded to SoundClick in the Bulb days, which we're redoing. And we actually also drudged up Daedalus, a song called Daedalus, which was a 9-minute epic long song back from the SoundClick days. And we worked that in Chocolate Flobs. We're working Absalom in.
I think it's important to note that just because an idea didn't get used at one point in time doesn't make the idea invalid. Maybe it just wasn't right for the album you were working on, and it can work later.
Whew, I got a headache after that. Jesus Christ. Driving out was like pulling teeth compared to this. And with this, it's like, oh, you have this song, you can just do whatever you want with it. Bad position pulling my life above the muck!
First of all, that's a great vocal rig. Second of all, it's really, really cool to see a vocalist writing their own parts and recording their own parts really, really well, and just sitting there and getting the job done. It's not a super common thing, so I'm actually really, really impressed.
Because you want to please somebody else, you want to do something for somebody else. That's not the way art should be, in my opinion. Can't feel a thing!
And he sounds really good. He's got a very particular kind of scream and just sounds great doing it. And he knows exactly what he's going for.
I'm not really thinking about the fans. I'm not thinking about what people want. And I know no one else in the band is. I know that the things that make us happy and this process of creating and those moments when this spark of an idea that you have or this vibe or whatever, this vision that you have sort of comes together in a way where you're like, wow, that is just what I was expecting, or even cooler.
That's got to be some Misha humor, putting the piano underneath that.
Right here, brother, homie dog?
I do,
You do, dude.
What's up, Alex Rudinger, one of the best drummers in the world and definitely in metal.
Oh my god, this is amazing.
Also, what's up, Anna Sastry, another one of the best drummers in metal in the world.
We're at the point now where we're starting to retrack the songs. Spencer's working on the vocals in parallel. There might be slight arrangement changes. You know, there might be little things here and there when he actually works on it, but I don't think there's going to be any sort of drastic, like, oh man, this is totally fucked. We need to completely rework this kind of scenarios.
Yeah, so they're doing the Metal Factory right there. Now that they wrote the songs and pre-pro'd them and everybody's on the same page, now they're retracking what needs to be retracked, and they're all kind of doing it separately but in parallel. It's because they all already signed off on everything, and there's trust between them that if something's going to change, it's going to be for the better, and everyone knows exactly what they need to be doing.
Been getting some demos here and there, so we kind of know how the songs are going to go vocally, but once we know that and we hear where he like left space in certain parts, we'll have to talk about what guitar solos, if any, are going in, and kind of record those, write those on our own, on our individual own.
So that's really smart that they still left a lot of space for Spencer's vocals and didn't just start adding solos everywhere and just adding layers and layers and layers and layers on top of everything, because really you might end up eating really good room for the vocals, and at the end of the day, vocals are kind of the priority. So anyways, I think it's really smart that now that they're going to hear what Spencer is bringing to the record, from there they're going to figure out where the holes are and add the solos and whatever else needs to be added in those spaces if needed.
Matt is like obsessing over these parts, like a month ahead of him actually tracking his first note, and he's already just like obsessing over all the details and the minutia. It's pretty cool, and I can tell that he really cares about having this performance represent him.
You want a drummer that's going to obsess over the minutia of their parts, and really it seems like every member of this band is approaching their parts with the same level of seriousness. You want that out of your band members. It's tough if only a couple of the band members are serious about the parts and playing the parts and then others aren't. It seems to me like every member of this band knows exactly what their role is, takes it super seriously, and is doing all the work required to just absolutely nail it. Middle Farm, yeah. That is an incredible place. It looks like a movie set. It's one of those places that you can't believe is actually real. It's so gorgeous, but it's real, and it's a great studio too. The traditional way of recording drums in metal and rock and most music is to do drums first, then bass, or maybe rhythm guitar, depending. And then, the rest of the guitars, keyboards, synth, whatever, vocals. However, with the advent of modern metal and home recording and really good drum programming software, lots of producers and bands have started recording drums last. This seems counterintuitive because you really want the drums to groove off of. But one of the positive aspects of this is that the drummer has all this time through the recording of the record to learn their parts and to really tweak their parts. And so sometimes if you were to record drums first, as you're going along recording the rest of everything, you might get to parts that you wish were different. And maybe if it's a different kick pattern, that's easy to just edit in. But what if you want to extend a song, or you want to add a part that wasn't there, or you want to change something and there's no easy way to do it without doing all kinds of surgery? Well, by recording drums last, you can avoid that because all the changes will happen in the computer. The songs will be recorded to those changes, and then the drummer just has to learn the final version of the song. And because they've had all that time to practice the final version of the song, their actual performance in the studio is going to be that much better, as opposed to having a less than final version of the song potentially at the beginning, and then unnatural edits and weird stuff that can happen to the drum tracks along the way as the songs morph during the production process. If you haven't done it before, give it a try. It's very efficient. Every producer should know at least the basics of changing heads and tuning drums. And that's because lots of drummers don't know how.
Nolly and I have been working on the drum sound for Periphery for so long, and we take it so seriously. And now that we're in this setting, it's just the chance for us to really see what we can get.
They're in a big wooden room, high ceilings. I don't know, maybe that's 14 feet. I can't tell. So very reverberant room. I can't tell this is a stone wall back here. For metal drums or very, very detailed drums, this could actually be a mess. For slower material with like snare on the 3, like breakdowns or backbeat stuff, lower tempo, a room like this can be great because there's a lot of time for the reverb, the natural reverb to die down. But on metal records where there's a lot going on, lots of hits, lots of little details, rooms like this can actually work against you because there's just sound bouncing around all over the place and you can lose the definition. So a really good way to get the best of both worlds is to put these types of baffles around the kit so that you're kind of creating a smaller room within the room. So you can still have the room mics like this one, and there's probably some further out, and still get the size of it. But the close mics right here are not getting reflections off of everything. So they're still capturing a very tight, direct sound while also getting the nice big room sound. It is how you get the best of both worlds.
The space itself, apart from sounding great, just has a great vibe to it. It's kind of just ambient sounding space. You might even be able to hear it on my voice right now.
Yeah, you can hear how reverberant that room is on his voice. So just imagine that on lots of microphones with fast metal drumming that has tons of details everywhere. That's why you need those baffles back there. But where he's sitting is more where the room mics would be. So like I said, best of both worlds.
It's been an intense process. It's just been Matt and I here in the studio, and that means that I'm the bottleneck really for everything. I'm doing the engineering, the editing, the comping, all of those things, and that means there's so much dead space for Matt where he's not able to record because I'm still kind of taking care of more menial tasks. But it's been worth it, and I think it's nice to be able to cast my eye over every aspect of the drum recording.
So that's a tough way to work, but also a great way to work. Everything's got its pros and cons. As a musician, it's harder to work this way because you're getting warmed up and then you're cold, and then you have to play again when you're not totally warmed up. You're going between playing and stopping for potentially long periods of time and losing your warmed upness. That can be kind of frustrating. For the producer and engineer, this is kind of the best way to do it because you can really look at the parts in the moment and you don't have to keep notes of, all right, that part sounded weird, I'm going to keep note of that and come back to it later. So obviously these dudes have figured out how to make it work, and the result speaks for itself. And I think there's a lot more positives, a lot more pros to this style of working than cons for these two. All right, that was Remain Indoors, and honestly, that was super insightful. My biggest takeaway here is their complete self-sufficiency. You're seeing a band that handles almost everything from the beginning of the writing process all the way to the final production. Seeing them in their own spaces proves that you don't need $1 million studio to put out a world-class record. You need knowledge, the work ethic, and a team that's completely aligned with the vision. If you want to go deeper into the exact techniques you saw here, like how Nolly got this massive and clear mix, you should check out his Nail the Mix session at the link in the description. He mixes the song Prayer Position from this album, and it's a perfect deep dive into the practical application of his mixing philosophy. And for everything else, from production workflows all the way through to songwriting and literally everything in between, head on over to urm.academy. What was your biggest takeaway from this documentary? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.